Anyway, let's get started. Okay, everyone. Hello, my name is Ryan. I'm part of the Xaya team, and today we're going to be having, an AMA. Ask me anything. So, you can, ask whatever kinds of questions you want. If you're, interested, in different aspects of the Xaya technology about, uh, the Xaya blockchain or how Xaya is blockchain agnostic. Lots of different things to go over. Up on stage with me, I have uh, other Xaya team members, co-founders, Snailbrain, Andrew, and Domob, Daniel. So perhaps, well, we better just start off, a little bit with a tiny bit of introduction. Andrew, can you tell us how you got the idea for Xaya? Where did this all come from?
Can you hear me, by the way?
I can hear you.
Yeah. So yeah. Um, I guess it all started maybe in around about the year 2000 when I was playing MMORPGs for money. So like in a play to earn aspect, you could say. So like starting off with EverQuest, buying and selling virtual swords and all that sort of stuff, and then progressing into other MMORPGs as well. And then when I heard about Bitcoin, you know, well, when I was selling these virtual assets, people will always say to me, "Why would somebody buy a virtual sword for like $2,000? Buy something that doesn't exist." And then when I heard about Bitcoin, which was a bit late in 2011, um, I understood, that this was going to be big, and people will buy something that doesn't exist if it does have some use, sort of thing. Um, and at the time, I was also mining, as well as Bitcoin, a project called Namecoin, which was the first altcoin. And that project was initially for like decentralized domain names. And I think that project sort of instigated the thoughts for many other people as well that blockchain can be used for something other than a currency. So basically put two and two together in 2013 that we could use this for something to do with games, so like for virtual assets or for even like a fully decentralized game. So that's why we made the HuntsCoin project as like a bit of a test to see how well blockchain could handle um, like an MMORPG sort of thing. And then from that time working with Daniel, we did a lot of research, learned a lot of things, saw the pitfalls and all that sort of stuff, and came up with the idea to basically build a blockchain where people could build their own decentralized games. So instead of being one blockchain and one game like HunterCoin was, we came up with a scalability solution so that you could have many games on one blockchain. So that's basically where the idea came from.
Great. Thanks for that. And Daniel, perhaps we can ask you, how did you initially get involved with Andrew, HunterCoin, all this stuff? Can you tell us a little bit about that? You're going to have to unmute your speaker. Hey, Daniel? Daniel, you need to unmute your speaker. Sorry, unmute your mic. Okay, little technical glitch here.
I'm
Yeah,
sure he'll sort it. I've messaged him. Let me just see what he says. Your mic isn't working, Daniel.
it says that you've got your mic muted. Okay. Well, anyway, we'll come back to that. So um, uh, I guess we have sort of the beginnings of where Zaya started and whatnot. So I suppose we should probably go to the audience and find out if anybody has any questions. Um,
You can also
now,
write them. I don't know if we can write in here, can we? Um, Uh,
There isn't a text channel here, and if you want to speak, just uh, put up your hand. There's a little hand icon where you can click that. You know, you put up your hand, and it'll say, "Hey, you know,
uh,
invite
it
me
could
up."
be as well. It could be as well. A lot of people don't want to speak. So if they're not, we could get them to maybe just write in the Xaya general chat if you want to ask a question as well in the general channel.
Yeah, that'll work too.
Daniel is just trying to reconnect now as well. I know a lot of people are shy about asking in voice, but they won't be shy at asking a dodgy question in the general chat.
Yes, yeah. A lot of people don't, like
Okay, he doesn't hear
speaking
anything.
in public. They get a little bit nervous. My
But if somebody's typing, so there could be some questions coming now.
mm-hmm. Okay, I see. Phil 123 has a question. In HunterCoin, each order was issued after a block was mined, 1 or 2 minutes. How will this work in the Xaya blockchain? Will it still be every 1 or 2 minutes or less? So,
Uh,
Andrew, perhaps you can answer that.
yeah, so Xaya is already a blockchain now, which is live, and the blocks are on average every 30 seconds. So yeah, you could say that is limiting the sort of games what you could have. However, there are lots of games where that would work fine for a fully on-chain game, like Soccer Manager Elite, for example. However, we have now basically built an interface for like the Xaya SDK and all the bits that make all the magic happen to build decentralized games, so that it will work on any blockchain. So like with Xaya, you could say that we've gone for full decentralization with that, and it's debatable about proof of work and its security, but we're not sacrificing performance for decentralization like a lot of other blockchains are. However, what we've built, Xaya X, which allows for the the games to run on any blockchain, means if you wanted, you could run a game on something like Polygon, which has like 1.5 second block times, or on Polkadot, which may be even faster, or some other technologies as well. So yeah, they are 30 seconds on Xaya Core. However, other blockchains, they can be whatever they want and still use the Xaya technology on there. And like, for example, one thing that we're going to be announcing soon as well is we will be Soccer Manager Elite will be running on a different blockchain than Xaya Core, and that will should run differently and in a browser. And we have some people now testing the new version of that now, which will work with MetaMask and have access to all that audience in the Ethereum ecosystem.
Okay, thanks. Daniel, are you back up and running, and have you got your mic working?
No, he hasn't,
No,
but it's
not yet.
fine.
Yeah.
It's okay. I can answer most questions probably.
Somebody else is typing a question in there. You mentioned Soccer Manager running on the Polygon chain with
Plus, yeah.
yeah, yeah, and access to that entire Ethereum ecosystem. I think probably some people are going to have some questions about that. I've seen quite a few people, asking
Yeah,
around about
yeah. I mean,
that, in the different Discord channels and in Telegram, you know. So
yes, yeah. So, I mean, a bit more about that. So the reason why we want to um, to put it there is basically we want to access. We need the Xaya games to be accessible to a bigger audience. And Daniel's messaging. All right, he can't hear anything. yeah, nothing's working for him, but that's fine. Yeah, so yeah, we want to access all that audience. I mean, that is where everybody is basically at the moment. They're all, you know, trading ERC20 tokens, NFTs, and all that sort of things. And by putting Soccer Manager Elite on there, we can then have Soccer Manager coins as an ERC20 token, so they can then take part in all the DeFi and decentralized exchanges. Easier to get listed on exchanges when it's an ERC20 token. And yeah, it should make the game much better. But also, as all the infrastructure's there to be able to have things like browser games and stuff, which is why the new Soccer Manager Elite version is now all pretty much done in a read-only way, running in a browser and works in tablets and mobile as well, which is all responsive design and looks pretty cool as well. I know there's a few people in here now which are testing it at the moment.
Gamegeist, you had your hand up. I've sent you an invite. You're going to have to accept the invite if you want to come up and ask a question. So just check down, look for the invite to come on up. But in the meantime, we have other questions until Gamegeist can, get up on stage. Tai Kiwanuka asked, what happens when two share orders buy are in the same block for Soccer Manager Elite? Who will get the
Yeah,
shares?
yeah,
So I
that's
suppose this is just to sort of explain for everybody in case you don't know exactly what Ty's talking about. If there is one share for sale and you want to buy it and I want to buy it and we both try to do it in the same block, who gets them? So Andrew, perhaps you can answer that for people.
yeah. So yeah, that's a good question. So as far as I'm aware, it's the order of the transaction in the actual block, which is set by the miners. Um, yeah, that's as far as I'm aware. Now, there is a possibility that it could be this is something for Daniel, but it could be that it is in alphabetical order. But I will just find out about that. As far as I'm aware, it's about the order in the block, which is actually placed by the miners themselves. And I will just ask that now to Daniel. 1 second. But you can go on to the next question.
Okay. After Ty, Secret Recipe is asking, is CC Miner for Xaya and SG Miner the only two mining softwares that have the algo? I think that Secret Miner is probably asking about the Xaya NeoScript.
Yeah, so they are the two miners that I'm aware of. There is one based which is called NeoScript Miner itself, I think. But I think that one was originally a CPU miner. So yeah, they are the only two that I'm aware of. There are some different versions as well people have created of CC Miner, which is for NVIDIA cards, and SG Miner for the AMD cards. So yeah, they are the only two, I think. And Daniel has just responded as well. It's actually based on the miners of which they put in the block, so we was right on that one.
Okay. Now, Nick X has a question. He's asking, with Soccer Manager Elite in the Ethereum chain, it means we must pay Ethereum fees during the game. Ethereum fees are scary. So maybe
Yeah,
you can
so
address that.
yeah, so if it's on, for example, Polygon, then the fees there are pretty minuscule. So it wouldn't be on the Ethereum main chain, although we would like it to be. But like you say, the fees are just too expensive. It is possible, maybe with F2 or something like that, that this could be changed. But on a side chain, the fees are really low, so you shouldn't really have to worry about that. We can probably even sponsor fees that are that low.
I've used a little bit on the Polygon chain with Matic, and the fees, from what I can see, are extremely low. They're not as low as on the Xaya blockchain, I don't think, but they are certainly not, the scary Ethereum, fees where you're often spending, $50 or $60 is often dirt cheap. You're spending $100 or more quite often, you know. Yes, the next Lickable is asking high input real time games like first person shooters and fighting games. How do you think they might take shape on a platform like Xaya or even Carteezy? So those real time
Yeah,
first person shooters and whatnot. Andrew, can you tell us a bit about that?
yeah. I'm not sure how they would run on Cortezy, but in a game channel game, at the moment there are some limitations where if you have, let's say, well, if you have like a one versus one game, then the latency in between them would just be like playing any other first person shooter as long as they're in the same region. So that should be perfectly possible. But when you start to have five independent players in like a deathmatch, then the way that the current tech is has been built means that the latency would be like 5 times more or more because each for the game to be like fair, everybody has to process each move in turn. So essentially, it's turn based. Like if you had a one-player first-person shooting game, it is actually turn based. It's just that it's very fast between each other. Now, if you have five people, you then have to do a round robin around all the players, and that's just in the current form, and it could be improved. We just haven't spent a lot of time on real-time games at the moment. However, one way that we've discovered where it could be possible is if you're playing like a blockchain game. Normally, it's for money. So if you're playing a first-person um, playing a game for money against another team. So if it's like say 5 versus 5, then you're going to trust your leader because it's your team. So what you can then do is the leader of each team receives all the moves from the other players in the team, and then this leader then sends all these moves as a bundle to the other player in the game channel, and the other leader is getting their moves from their players. So you can have a 5 versus 5 and a 10 versus 10 or something like that. So that should then be possible. um, but as for like a massive open world um, in game channels, that's something that we need to do a bit more research on. Now, if it's a game like an MMORPG with that doesn't have um, like Twitch style movement with mouse look, and it is just like a normal MMORPG or the old school ones where you have like a tab target and you just target people, then you can get away with quite higher latency. So those sort of games should be possible where you don't have to worry about getting a headshot or something like that.
Hmm. All right, Nick X has a question here. He's asking, are there any upcoming exciting announcements we can expect before the end of the year in the marketing, partnership, or listing space? So, okay, Andrew, this is an interesting question for you. And
All right.
anything that you want to sort of hint at, or do you want to make any
Yeah.
announcements?
Yeah. So we have got some news coming out about Soccer Manager Elite. I mean, we are releasing the read-only version, as everybody knows, and that should be before Christmas. We maybe even um, well, probably early next week. We're hoping for. So then everybody will be able to see what we've been working on for the last like 3 or 4 months. As like a lot of people know, we've been working on this Unity client for some time, but to be fair, it wasn't up to the quality that we wanted, and also it was getting more difficult to be able to run that on a mobile device to make it all decentralized and all that sort of stuff was a bit complex. So we decided to rebuild that in Flutter, and yeah, this as I mentioned before, so it's accessible to almost anyone. Now, also regarding Soccer Module, there is some things going on in the background which we can't really talk about now until things have been signed. But we'll have some news about that. There will be sort of like a sale as well early next year. Um, and as for partnerships, we are talking to a lot of big names in the space at the moment. But again, it's not something that we can talk about until we have things like concrete. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Isn't that kind of
But there is some
frustrating?
news coming.
Isn't that kind
Sorry?
of, don't you kind of find it that frustrating when you've got, some big news and you're kind of, you want to say something and you can't, you've,
Yeah. Well, and it's happened. I mean, it happens a few times that it's just something where if you say it and then it doesn't happen, then it's just bad news. So yeah, it's just not something we can talk about at the moment, unfortunately.
yeah. Okay, Ty has another question here. He's asking, is there any chance for a Soccer Manager coin airdrop for Chi holders? He says, I know about the 10% for ICO participants, but I mean an additional one. So, like, have you thought about, maybe, you know, having, like a percent or whatever of coins or that, at a certain block, kind of like
Yeah.
the Hunter coin airdrop?
Yeah, it's not
For
something we've thought about, but yeah. I mean, I know this has been a discussion in the past as well, and quite a heated discussion on how Soccer Manager Elite will somehow be related to Chi, so Chi's involved in it, and um, like as you know, the things that we have come out with so far are things like taking part in the Soccer Manager coin and Rapchi liquidity pool on the decentralized exchanges will generate you Soccer Manager coins. So there is that. But the other thing as well, which we didn't totally decide on in the past, was that there will be part of the sale where you will be able to get a large discount if you use Chi to purchase them, and possibly those Chi will be burned as well. And this is only something that we can do since this new news that we're going to tell you comes out. We'll then be able to do that. But I can't really say any more on that. But yeah, there will be Chi will be linked to Soccer Manager and will be uh, in motion with each other. So yeah,
Yeah, I think a lot of people are looking forward to getting their hands on some Soccer Manager coins, and especially a lot of the people who bought in the ICO, which was a fair time uh, ago now. So they're. Let me throw in one question, sort of in addition to what Ty asked for you, Andrew. If you remember way back, uh, the Chi buyers in the pre-sale were, getting Soccer Manager coins. That was part of it, but there was also one other thing. Do you remember what that one was?
no, go on.
You remember that a player
Start
buyers
again.
would buyers would get a special player, in the game.
Oh right, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. So that one, I mean, there was a disclaimer in there that it could be that people wouldn't get anything, um, but yeah, the legendary player, you mean, don't you?
Yes.
Yeah. So the game basically has changed since then. So at the time, each player was going to be like a single NFT. Now the difference now with the change of the game mechanics is each player is well, you could say like a fractionalized NFT. So at the moment, each player is owned by 10,000 shareholders. However, we will be putting the amount of shares up to maybe like a million or 10 million per player and per club as well. So it's not possible for us to yeah uphold that well, you could say a promise, but that advert. But there is something that we're thinking that we might be able to do. For example, we could give some small percent of shares to each of those people in that took part in the ICO. Well, in the pre-sale and the private sale.
I bet there are a lot of people licking their lips over that, right now. Okay.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, yum 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 yum.
there's
A
no
bunch of
promises
more of
there
them.
though. There's no promises there. We'll have to see.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Okay,
Yeah.
so let's move on. Robkinson is asking, besides the UI overhaul, what are other things you run into working on Soccer Manager Elite that is taking more time than expected?
Um, Mostly is just all the UI. The back end stuff is pretty much done. Um, And yeah, it's just been the UI we've been holding us back all from the start, really. And then now, obviously, we've started from scratch. Although we have progressed really, really fast working with Geeky Ants, our partners. But some of the things which have been added in there, which are not in the current beta and will be in the next round, are things like contracts for players. So when you have a player, they'll have a contract length, so like 2, 3, 4, or 5 years, I think it is. And if you're an agent and you're at a club, you can actually set the contract length that you would go for. So then if the manager puts you for sale, then you would go for that length. And also on the transfer market, you'll be able to see how long the contract length is for that price you're bidding for, so then you don't get surprised later. So, for example, if a contract length is someone's got it down as the 2 years, then that player may go cheaper than somebody who's got set as 5 years. So there's contract length. There's also the free bench, which has just been added now, which means that every club will only have something like 28 players max, or is it 30 players max, something like that. So then all the other players that don't get in the club will go on the free bench, and anybody can buy people off the free bench. It will then start an auction, and the money that is raised for the auction of clubs that go on the free bench, the Soccer Manager coins, is burnt. And also anybody that buys the shares in the players that are on the free bench, those Soccer Manager coins are burnt as well. And that's in the current iteration, and that is subject to change. And what else is in there as well? The share dilution as well is in there. So if you're a shareholder, you can initiate a share dilution event, which basically puts up 5% of the shares for sale. So and then goes to an auction, and basically everybody who puts money in gets a share based on the ratio of how much they could put in. So if I put 50 Soccer Manager coins in and you put 100 Soccer Manager coins in, and then it ends, then I'll get 33% of the shares, something like that, maybe. So yeah, there's that in there as well. The share dilution event is for basically if somebody's like owns all the shares in a club and then they disappear, they go AWOL, although they lose the private keys, then essentially that club would be dead. So by having the share dilution event, people can then start to take over the club again and get enough shares back and start, voting in a manager and all those sort of things. And let me think what else as well has just been added. Some of the roles and things like that have been modified. So the player roles were like man behind ball and all those sort of stuff. Because a lot of those actually don't do anything at the moment. Some of them don't anyway, and I know a lot of people think they do, and this is probably a shock to you, but some of those actually don't do anything at the moment. All the other things do, like formations and a lot of other things. But for example, who's your playmaker and things like that. We've added things now where if you set a playmaker who's got a high skill or a high rating, then and depending on the position, it affects the match engine on the results and things like that. So we've been adding those in over the last couple of months. So they're all done now, but not in the current beta version. And anything else?
Sounds like there's quite a bit there.
Yeah, there's a couple of other things as well, but I just can't think of them at the moment.
Well, why don't we move on? Blade has come up on stage here. Blade, why don't we're going to skip right to you ahead of everybody in text because it takes more courage to come up, with voice. So can you unmute your mic and ask what you're thinking?
Can you hear me?
Yep, can hear you perfectly.
Yeah.
If you hear a child, just ignore her. She might shout me.
That's all right, don't worry.
My question is, in terms of you got the beta for the Soccer Manager Elite, and then obviously the release. Okay. How long is the sort of like support from you guys with Soccer Manager? So like, obviously the game is released, and how long are you guys going to be supporting that? Because obviously you're working with Soccer Manager at the
Yeah,
moment.
yeah. So we'll be with the game forever. So I can say that, and we will have some news about our partnership as well, which is quite big news in the new year. So there will be some news on that as well, which is good news as well, not bad news. But yeah, we will be supporting the game for as long as we can. I mean, obviously, if it gets to a point where the community is in total control of all the open source code on GitHub and everybody's contributing and things like that, the ultimate goal is for it to be run by the community. It's just that at the moment we've not open sourced the code, and because it would be a bit of a bad idea to just release all that game code and then someone else to just make the same game. So everything will be released on open source, like after the full game release, and then people can verify all the code, and then the community can get involved, maybe build their own clients and all those sort of things. But yeah, we'll be there for the foreseeable future anyway.
Cool. Thank you.
If that answers your question.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Hey, M. Camrava, I invited you up on stage here. You're going to have to check for the invite. You'd already put your hand up, but until you manage to get up on stage, we're going to move on to people in the Xaya General Text channel. Okay. So, all right. Cold Storm has a question. Have you worked out tokenomics for Soccer Manager Elite, or is it still in the works? From what you said just now, it's still in progress and might be changed. So,
Yeah.
Cold Storm was asking about Soccer Manager coins, the tokenomics, and how all that stuff works, whether there's any staking and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So, Andrew.
Yeah, so there will be staking for taking part in the liquidity pools for providing liquidity on the decentralized exchanges, so you can earn Soccer Manager coins for doing that. In that sense, and the tokenomics, they're not set in stone yet, but from like the basics part of it, or at the moment, out of the total supply, whatever number that actually is, 10% is already being reserved for the people that took part in the ICO. That was a promise that we made to the Xaya ICO participants from 2017, 2018. Around 10% of the total coins are in the club's balances at the start. In the where the clubs are in, you could say, like the circular flow of how the coins move around that around the clubs, like in the match engine, all that sort of stuff. So for example, how much ticket sales you get and all that sort of stuff, and the wages, what you pay out. Inside that bubble, if you will, of where 10% of the coins are, which some of those coins can go out and go back in as well. Out of that 10%, there will be like some inflation there. So that might be like 10% inflation within this bubble of players, a bubble of like clubs and stuff all playing each other and things. However, even though 10% sounds like a lot, in the grand scheme of things, that's only, you could say, 1% of the total supply would inflate every year, so which is like pretty much negligible. So there's that 10% of the coins there, and then obviously there's going to be a certain percent for staking rewards, for community, for marketing, for exchanges, for a private sale, for public sale, which might not actually be a sale in the end. It could just be that people burn their coins to get them, so we don't generate anything from that. Well, at least part of that anyway. Like as an example, and this isn't set in stone, 5% of the coins could be for Chi holders with like a major discount, but that's not set in stone, so don't take that as a promise. The actual final numbers are not ready yet. However, we do have some estimations. We just not. Yeah, we need to go over that early next year, after Christmas or after New Year.
All right. Okay. Well, let's move on to our next question. Our next question is from Jacker. When is the next block halving expected for the Xaya blockchain?
That's a good question. Yeah. So I believe that is in July. because that's when estimated, as we launched in July 2018, in July 2022 should be when the block halving happens, so that miners have basically less coins to dump. There'll be less profit to make though, and I think at the moment it's 3.8 coins per block, so they would get like 1.9 coins per block, something like that.
All right. Yeah, block happenings, reduce the supply of coins, and they're always sort of an exciting event for everybody.
Yeah.
Nick
Yeah.
Nick X has another question, and he says this one's a hard question. You recently mentioned Torion development will restart in the second quarter of next year. I know giving deadlines is extremely difficult in this field, but roughly how far is Torion from being released? Yeah, this is one of the things with development, software development.
Yeah.
If you ask a software developer, how long is it going to take? He'll tell you it's a week, and it's always 3 times longer, or whatever. So this is not unique to to Xaya or anything. The entire software world. This is the joke. So Andrew, can you tell Nick a little bit about the Torion development schedule?
Yeah, so like there's 2 parts to Torion, if we ignore marketing and all those things, but in the development of it. So there's the back end, which is what we call the GSP, the game state processor, and that is pretty much all done, and it was all working fine. There is some extra things we need to add in there, which may be just a month or 2 work, which is, for example, adding in corporations, adverts above buildings, and the player progression skill system as well, which is half implemented. So if you keep mining, you gain experience in mining, and then when you get to a certain level, you can then use higher level mining lasers and all that sort of stuff. So that sort of stuff is very short. Now, what is the time consuming part is all the front end, and where we've been basically doing that all in house previously to this year, and that needs a lot of work. So there's 2 ways that we can go about it. One of them is we expand our team, and we go full blast on that, or we partner with somebody of which we are already in discussions with to build all the front end. Now, like another option as well is, now I know everybody likes all this 3D environment, which is done in Unreal, and it's something that I like myself as well. But another option is we could just do this in a browser as well and make it a bit more strategic and Google Maps like sort of a game. So that's something that we've been discussing just recently over the last month. And then, of course, later on we could continue with the Unreal client. So we're not totally we don't know for sure which way we're going to go yet, but that's something that we're going to be focusing on in Q2 next year. So we'll be able to tell you more then. But either way, whichever it is, we believe that Torion is the ultimate blockchain game, and what blockchain gaming should be about is you could say I think the perfect example of a blockchain game or a decentralized blockchain game with a fully player-driven economy and play to earn and PvP and building, crafting, trading, and all those things, which what blockchain gaming is about, which is about money and things like that, and obviously fun as well. So like other blockchain games have brilliant market caps, but are there any games that are actually fun? We think that Torion will be a great social game where people will play to the death. We will anyway.
Okay, thanks for that. Now, Kamrava, I've invited you up, but you haven't accepted the invite yet. So we're going to continue on, with other questions from the Xaya General channel. Okay, Ricardo is saying, hello, are you considering a 3D match viewer on Soccer Manager Elite, similar as the one on FM? So,
Yeah. Yeah, no, it is something that we've discussed, and also with Soccer Manager team as well, because they do have a 3D match viewer. Yeah, and we could probably do that as highlights as well. So the difference with this game is, in a single player game, like Football Manager, you press next and then it calculates all the um, uh, the events in real time. So then, if it's your team what's playing, you can watch it live and see, someone taking a free kick and scoring and stuff, which does look really good. Whereas in Soccer Manager Elite, because it's an MMO, you might not be at your PC when it happens, when the match happens. So, it would make more sense if it was done as highlights, but it could also be done in a real time way as well. So if everybody goes to the PC at 3 o'clock on a Saturday and watches to see what the match results are, so that is something that is possible as well. I mean, we did originally discuss that at the moment the results are calculated within one block. So even though the whole minutes are calculated over that block, the front end will only see the result in the end, and then it'll have to calculate back to display the match engine, which is to do the 3D viewer and stuff, which is fine. However, one thing that we can do, and it is possible to change easily, is make it so the match actually plays over 90 minutes. So then you could actually do substitutions within the game as well, while the match is playing. However, that's probably going to be something for the future. And just before I forget as well, something that I remembered there, one thing that we want to do with Soccer Manager Elite in the future as well is allow for people to do friendlies. So at the moment, there can only be 300 clubs, which means there's only 300 managers. However, if we add in friendlies, where maybe you only need one share in any player, you could build any club, any team you wanted rather, and then play somebody else and wager Soccer Manager coins, and the winner would get the Soccer Manager coins. So you could go into like a lobby where people will say that they're like looking for a match and they're willing to bet so much, so that's possible there as well. Obviously, there would be some balancing issues there. So maybe what we would have to do is say your team cannot have a total rating of more than I don't know, 1,000, something like that. So then, to build a team, you would have to build them within those limits, so that some player doesn't have 11 of the best players in the world to compete against. Just to that basically would just be to add a more fast playing to the game, because at the moment it's a very slow MMO, as opposed to an audience that just wants something quick. So by adding friendlies in, we can have people that just come onto the browser game and have a look and say, oh yeah, I'll take this guy's bet with my team and just play the game. So that's something which we'll be working towards as well.
Friendly sounds like it'd be a lot of fun. Something more akin to something I'd be playing.
Yeah.
PG is asking, what are in your plans for simplified development libraries or SDK for Unity or Unreal, so that there can be other developers, games? Are there any plans on this for creating a developer community and possible timeline? Yeah. So this is a great question. Clearly aimed at development and getting more games using Xaya.
Yeah.
So Andrew.
Yeah. So like the thing is with Xaya Tech is it is actually the back end component, you could say. So it's like the network server component in an MMO or some other sort of game where you run a server, maybe for Counter-Strike or whatever. If you run your own servers, if you can still do that now for that game. So the back end code, this GSP, can be written in any language what you want. All our stuff is in C++, but there are wrappers so you can build them in C#. So in the end, really, the front end is just connecting to the API of this to be able to do that. So the front end can be in anything, Unity, Unreal, whatever you want, as long as it can, connect to the API, whichever way that you want to do that. We use JSON RPC for ours. However, there are things like the, wallet integration and all those sort of things, which would definitely help. And, we do need to spend some time when we get it so that people can also do those games, to build their own games as well, and we can build up the community. It's just not something that we've had the time to focus on lately, unfortunately. But yeah, it will be coming. I mean, what we wanted to do really was first try and get these 2 games out that we've been working spending all our time on. So then people will be interested in see how successful these games can be, and then try to focus on that. But yeah, it is a bit like a chicken and the egg scenario. But yeah, it is something that we want to do, but there is no dates on it. But if somebody is developing something and needs some help, we can provide everything that we've got so far, so you can do that. For example, we do have everything for Unity for building the chat system, the XMPP chat system, using Xaya ID for decentralized IDs, for the wallet integration, and yeah, connecting to the API using the Bitcoin JSON library. So yeah, that is something that we will work on, so developers can build on Unity and Unreal easily.
Yeah, tools for developers are a really important thing. Like the ease with which you get started and whatnot is often, a major deciding factor. I've done development with different things before, and quite often it's just kind of like, well, this one's gonna make it easy for me, so I just need to get the job done, and and that's the route people go. Irrespective of what kind of technology is behind things. So yeah, that's a great question, for developers. Nick X has another question. Um, can you guys, Renegade Snail Brain, give us your 1-minute best elevator pitch on how Xaya differentiates to the competitors out there? I already have an idea, but I'd like to know from you. All right, okay. Let's see. Andrew, you got 60 seconds. Go.
All right. Well, I'm not prepared for this, but
Yeah.
so the difference with us and the competition is we are focused on fully decentralized games. Now, people might think they don't care about that, but when you have a game where your assets are worth millions of dollars, or you've acquired assets in a game that are worth millions of dollars, and then one day you turn your computer on and the server's gone, it's not working, then your item you've got has no utility, so it has no value. Another thing is if you're playing a game like an MMORPG and the dragon drops an ultra rare dragon tooth or something like that, which might take 100 people to get in 6 months of time and questing or whatever, and then one day the developer just gives their friend one of these items. So your item, which you had, which took all that time to get, which was worth $1 million, is then been what's the word? Has been diluted, yeah, on the market. So its value is then going to be worth a lot less. And
That's
even
60 seconds.
All right.
That's okay. 60 seconds. We'll give you a little bit more time. Yeah, go ahead. I'm just.
No. Right, let's think then. So yeah, that's basically it. But there's also other things as well. There's like cheating and things, and hacking of the servers and duplicating coins and all that sort of stuff. All those things can be solved with our technology. There you go.
All right, let me see if I can give you a really quick elevator pitch.
You do one.
Yeah. Okay. Now, why would you want to use Xaya? Because we're doing fully decentralized games, and what you're going to get in with Xaya that you're not going to get with the competitors is a full Bitcoin ethos. Now, you need to sort of understand economics, and what Bitcoin is, why Bitcoin exists, and what Bitcoin is doing. Decentralization, permissionlessness. These things are important concepts, and decentralization gives power to that too. Power to everybody all over the place. There's no central authority, nobody that can rug pull you. Permissionless. You don't need to ask anybody, and it's trustless. You don't need to trust anybody. Yes, and it's censorship resistant. When you ask somebody, do you believe in free speech? And they say, yes, but they don't believe in free speech, so there you go. It's basically all the benefits that you get in Bitcoin wrapped into games. Okay, so
Human mining.
yes, yeah, that one too. Like I could go on for a very long time, but what I think the benefits, for uh, Xaya are, and I think the human mining, the true real play to earn model there is absolutely, one of the best things. I think that what's going to happen is we're going to have some games that, nobody can stop. Nobody can tell people they can't play. That censorship resistance is going to come in, and you're going to have people, making money on it, and particularly in the third world, where it's going to help pull people out of poverty. And this is one of the most important things for Xaya, is in my own beliefs. But I won't rant about that, because I could go about that forever. Rob Kinson is asking, since you are open source, anyone can build on the platform like Mimir did. Are there
So,
projects you know of? Since you are open source, anyone can build on the platform like Mimir did. Mimir is a quiz game,
oh,
where you answer questions. Are there projects you know of, or
yeah,
uh, the,
yeah. Go.
are there projects you know of that are building or wanting to build games, on the Xaya platform? I assume. Don't It says we don't need names, but like, are there anybody that you know of?
I mean, there's a few people in the development channel that are building or say they're building things on Xaya as well. Um, so recall, yeah. So you can look through there. There are some people building some stuff. We get asked questions every day, and we have a few Slack groups, shared channels in our Slack with people. Yeah, trying to build things, but yeah, there's no names of any games there. But one thing about that Mimir as well, that yeah, it seems like an interesting project, but we haven't had any communication with them, and we don't really know how they're going to use our technology for what they want to do. So yeah, just be aware of that.
Okay, Omega Wolf has some questions here. Is it somehow possible to motivate developers on Polygon who use our tech, Xaya X, to also use our wrapped chi coins in the game they develop, maybe by
Yeah,
awarding them with some special
yeah.
coins or NFTs, or granting them some other benefits?
Yeah. So that's a good question. So, we can give some incentives for people to make use of using Rapchi in there. For example, we can fund them for one. Um, uh, and yeah, we can support them, so we can hold their hand if anybody wants to develop anything. And, that's pretty much, all we can do. But, we hope that anybody that is doing this will make sure that, Rapchi is used in some way, whether that's even just taking part in the sale and getting a discount, or integrate it in a more deeper way as well. Like we will be doing with Soccer Manager Elite.
All right. Nick X has another question. No, just a comment. Thank you for your elevator speech. I was joking on the 1 minute time. Well, I wasn't joking about 1 minute. Elevator speeches need to be fast. You need to, yeah, nail it real nice and quick. And I tend to blather sometimes. I know that. The so let's move on. Cold Storm, are you planning to do regular AMAs uh, in feature from now on? I hope you consider it, as it's a very good way to keep in touch with the community. So yeah,
Yeah, definitely.
I think so far, this AMA is going pretty well and whatnot. So what do you think, Andrew?
Yeah, no, definitely. And we can also do, different topics as well. For example, we could have um, one more specific to, blockchain development, of which, Daniel could take part in. It's a shame he's had some technical difficulties, even though he's our CTO. But one reason why Daniel has these difficulties is he is, you could say, a true, real blockchain developer. He's not, fly by night person. He's one of the top Bitcoin contributors in the world. He's worked on many blockchain projects, and he does value his privacy. So, you know, if he's going to the toilet, he has to use Tor. You know, so it's just a mentality what some people have in the blockchain space that have been there from the beginning, and he does tend to have some sort of a lot of issues trying to get on platforms like this to get voice working and things. It's also an issue in some meetings as well.
Yeah, this is one of the things
That's
that's
just being
really
honest.
this is one of those things that's really difficult. It's getting more and more difficult to maintain your privacy. You know, like if you have your smartphone, well, let's not go down that road. You know, that's an entirely different rabbit hole, but it's very, very, very difficult. Like there's one fellow, Rob Braxman, the internet privacy guy, and you know he will go through, you know, talking about what you need to do to maintain your privacy. And holy geez, it is not trivial. It is Herculean efforts to do that. So,
Yeah.
yeah, sometimes getting on, you know, platforms here like Discord and that, you know, can be, daunting or very, very difficult, you know, for any number of different reasons. But yeah, let's move on. Nick X, my last question, maybe human mining. I discovered this with Xaya. Is this a Xaya concept or has it been implemented somewhere else? Is it basically hiding qubits in the landscape for people to find and extract using time and game resources? So this is a great question for you, Andrew. You're the guy who came up with the idea of human mining way back in 2013. You know, so what? I don't know whether you want to start, by describing that, because that's probably, the easiest way to
Yeah.
describe human mining and coin distribution and whatnot. So, human mining,
Yeah.
Andrew, take it away.
Right. Okay. So yeah. I mean, yeah. As I mentioned earlier, I got into all this stuff based on playing EverQuest and selling virtual assets for people to people, and you could say mining the assets by farming mobs and, and trading and things like that. So one issue was like duplication of items and hackers and bad devs and things like that. And then, yeah, in 2013, when I came up with this HuntsCoin project, it basically was that sort of same essence and idea of being able to play to earn and collecting, basically making money playing games, but on a very basic level. So I wanted to follow the same principles of Bitcoin, where in Bitcoin only so many coins can be mined a day, and there's a limited supply. So by making this game and it being all provably fair and censorship resistant, trustless, permissionless, all that sort of stuff, it followed all the ethos, like you said, of Bitcoin, so people could, play a game fairly instead of having to use expensive mining hardware to collect these crypto assets. And that's basically where it's all started from. Now, the gameplay was very dull in that game, and that's why the games that we're making now, like Torion, are much more complex. As complex as the player-driven economy in Eve Online, but following all those same principles. So it is all about fairness. So I mean, you might want to say something about human mining as well. You're that's a lot your forte, I guess, Ryan.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Human mining. When I saw HuntsCoin, I thought this was just absolutely brilliant. Playing that. Andrew's going to say it was kind of dull. Um, I don't think so. I think, it was really exciting. It was fun because the thing is, you're going out on this map and you're collecting these coins, and these coins are are the exact same coins that the miners are hardware mining, but you're human mining them, and you can cash these out for money. And so it's thrilling, because you're playing for money. It's a kind of, I guess it's kind of like gambling, but not really gambling. Uh, the So you're running around this map collecting these coins, and you get the crown of fortune, which gives you, a quarter of a 100 coin, every block, So it's just going to, stack up coins for you, and you're running to make it back to your home base so that you're safe, from people trying to kill you. That was a lot of fun.
I
But
think it was
with
a dollar a minute or something at one time, or $2 a minute or something like that. If you held the Crown of Fortune,
oh
some
yeah,
massive raffles over that, wasn't it?
the amounts of money that people were making with HunterCoin was just absolutely phenomenal. And I know people that were had lost their jobs, at the time, and they were playing HunterCoin, and they were, replacing their income by playing HunterCoin. And this whole human mining thing in HunterCoin, you had 90% of the coins on the map, and 10% of the coins going to the hardware miners. And so, that's where that human mining comes from. But the key to this is that cryptographic security that you get, by solving the Byzantine generals problem and the double spend problem, which Satoshi did when he created a Bitcoin, and you have the secure, scarce digital assets. And now these things you can't just duplicate them. Like I don't know if anybody remembers, Diablo used to be able to duplicate God armor and whatnot, and everybody would have, the God armor and God sword and whatnot, and all the best stuff in the game, and which really changes the dynamics, when things are infinite. Like how much do you want to pay for air? Well, like here on planet Earth, air is pretty common, so you don't really need, to pay much for it. But other things that are scarce, things like Bitcoin and that, things that you can't, you know, duplicate just ad infinitum, these things, can potentially have value. So that scarcity and the utility of in-game assets is going to drive blockchain gaming away from all these centralized games towards the decentralized part, because the decentralized games, you're just asking for a rug pull. Things get nerfed in centralization, and you have no guarantee of fairness. You have to trust people. It's permissioned. If they don't want to let you play the game, you don't get to play the game. Andrew, you wanted to say something there?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, yeah, so like, for example, with Torion, like just what you touched on then, is each of the assets in the game have utility in the game as well. So, yeah, you can do that with projects which just focus on NFTs. However, when the game is shut down, if it's not running decentralized and autonomous, then that item no longer has any utility. So apart from a collector's value, which can be quite high as NFTs, it doesn't have its true value anymore. Whereas, in Torion, a railgun has utility, so it has value because of that, because that can be used then to blow people up and steal their items, or if you have a mining laser, you can mine something. So everything has actual utility in Xaya's decentralized games.
You've used another example in the past, and I really like it. And it's about having keys to a Lambo. And the thing is, that NFT, the keys for that are keys. But, having keys to a Lambo and having a Lambo are two different things. And, with that decentralized, aspect, there are no rug pulls, there's no trust there. You are guaranteed that the Lambo is there. That railgun, can't be taken away from you. The Lambo can't be taken away from you. You've got the Lambo and the key to it. So you're always going to be able to rack up speeding tickets. And this is one of the differences between decentralized and centralized games. Is with a centralized game, you are not guaranteed of being able to drive your Lambo. You may have the key, but you don't get to rack up speeding tickets. In decentralized games, you can rack up as many speeding tickets with that Lambo as you want. And if you've got a Lambo, you can probably afford the speeding ticket. So who cares, right? Have some fun. Okay, so do you want to add anything before we move on, Andrew?
Um, Actually, yeah, just something that you said then as well, where you said, yeah, it can't be taken from you. Now, of course, that's down to the game mechanics, because in Torion, it can be taken from you by another player. And that's something that you can't do with an NFT game, which is centralized. And by the way, Torion has NFTs as well, they're just different. But in a game which is all the game logic is all sort of on chain, the assets can be taken from you by game events. So, in a centralized game using NFTs, I could have my Uzi and I'm shooting people, someone could kill me. They can't actually take that Uzi from you, and then they own the asset. Whereas in a game like Torion, your assets can be stolen from you if you're not careful through PvP. And that's one of the reasons as well. Well, not one of the reasons, but uh, something why we think that decentralized games and blockchain games uh, should be based on PvP. But that's actually another topic which we can ignore for now.
That you're bringing up that point. I think that's a really, really important one. Is the ability to actually have those NFTs, that those assets, taken from you. This adds another dimension of thrill and risk, whatever. Like for anybody that loves parachuting, I think they're gonna like Torion. Okay, well maybe parachuting is a little bit more dangerous than Torion, but let's move on there. Okay, so Phil 123 has another question. How or will Xaya Games in some way handle toxic players and cyberbullying? I know the whole idea is to have game worlds with no or limited central authority, but will there perhaps instead be some sort of community chosen moderators in games that have the ability to ban people or something similar? So this is a really good
Yeah. So
question, Andrew.
yeah.
Fill us in.
So yeah, I mean that could be an optional thing based on developers, but I mean, for example, with Torion, we're not going to have the power to ban anybody. But what you could do is, for example, in the chat, you could just ignore somebody because the chat is at the moment centralized, even though it has decentralized authentication. Um, you know, we could moderate the chat. We can also have filters for text and things like that. Actual in-game actions in Torion cannot be stopped by us because it would basically defeat the whole purpose of what we're trying to do if there is some central authority that can just ban somebody. Now you could have some sort of DAO that deals with that as well, but then how do you deal with then the people that own all the votes because they have the most money voting out their enemies or things like that? It's a very difficult problem to solve. But yeah, things like chat and things that that they can be censored, and I think that would be fair to like a compromise.
Yeah, that's that's one of those things where I think it's really kind of up to the developers to build in some sort of mechanism where certain things you can choose to block. I don't think it's a good idea, to necessarily block everything or whatever, from a player, because you're going to start, stepping on the game mechanics or whatever. But like, when somebody, if you have, say, an avatar and or somebody has an avatar and it's you find it offensive and you don't want to look at it. I think there's nothing wrong with the developer saying, hey, like what we're going to do is we're going to build in the ability for players to block other players' avatars and just replace them with a generic one or something like that. So and that can be done without affecting the gameplay. And but there are many different you know situations. There are many different um, uh, ways for these things to play out. But
Yeah.
we're over an hour here now, so. Andrew, you have any sort of final comments, or if anybody else has any more questions, type them up. But we're going to be wrapping up fairly soon. Andrew, any comments on Phil's last bit about, you know, the cyberbullying and stuff?
Yeah, no, not really, not from what I just said. But I mean, I guess you know, like somebody else said, you know, we should do these AMAs more often, and we'll try and do one maybe once a month, maybe at the end of the month, something like that. And we could also have maybe a channel for people to post questions beforehand as well, rather than doing it on the fly. Although it did seem to work out pretty good today, although it was our first one in our Discord.
Yeah, you know, all things considered, you know, I think today went, you know, fairly well and, you know, pretty smoothly, you know, for first time, you know, trying it out. You know, so thank you everyone for coming out. You know, it's been a pleasure, you know, chatting with you and, you know, getting questions from you, you know, hearing some answers from Andrew on the topic. It's too bad, you know, Daniel had those connection problems or whatever. You know, we'll work on that for the next time around. And thank you for coming out, everybody. You know, great having you. And we're gonna shut her down here. So we'll be, you know, chatting in text. You know, in the Discord, and you know, please, everybody, please remember, you know, we're not really in the Telegram much. You know, if you want to talk to the team and whatnot, you know, come here into the Discord and make sure to post in the proper channel, because then, you know, we can focus our attention, you know, and not read through 50 pages in Telegram to find out, you know, a question or whatever. You know, the Discord really makes things easy for people on the team to address. So, you know, have fun in Telegram. When you want to chat with us, head on over to Discord and we're here for you. All right. So, Andrew, any last questions before I shut the room down?
No, not from my side. Thank you very much for coming, everybody.
All right, great. So everybody, you know, have a great Christmas, Merry Christmas, and whatnot. You know, we'll probably try another AMA in the new year. Do check out our blog. You know, we've got a little bit of Christmas stuff for you there, and talk to you in January. Goodbye.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for coming.